Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily, the first English news program in Poland. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. Most of the Polish opposition parties have joined forces and formed a coalition ahead of the European elections in May. The former president of Poland, Alexander Górniewski, said that the coalition won't last long in case of a poor result.
In an interview with the Super Express newspaper, Alexander Górniewski stated that the European coalition's fate is uncertain.
In the case of a poor result when it comes to the European Parliament election, the European coalition will break up, and then the Polish People's Party and the Democratic Left Alliance will understand that their own identity is worth fighting for.
Marcin Święcicki from the Civic Platform Party has a different opinion. He thinks that if the result of the European Parliament election will be good, then the European coalition will survive at least till the fall parliamentary election.
The local government coalition was a success in spite of its bad fate. I think that the European coalition will be a success too, and after that the parliamentary coalition as well. I don't see a reason why it wouldn't be a success.
According to Adrian Zandberg from the Together Party, elections are made to give people a choice.
Democracy was made to give people a choice, and they will have a choice. The left-wingers can vote for their candidates, and liberals can vote for theirs, which is a civic coalition.
Paweł Sałek from the Chancellery of the President of Poland agrees with the former President of Poland, Kwaśniewski.
There is a huge political and worldview diversity in the European coalition. There was even an official information concerning the fact that after reaching some result during European election, every future Euro MP will go to their own political group. So when it comes to Poland's matters, they won't have a connection with the European coalition anymore.
The Civic Platform, the Polish People's Party, the Modern Party, the Democratic Left Alliance and the Greens formed the so-called European coalition. Smaller parties such as the Now Party, the Union of European Democrats, the Alliance of Democrats and the Social Democracy of Poland have also joined the coalition for European elections. It is worth noting that Alexander Kwaśniewski was the initiator in terms of pursuing the formation of a common coalition to the European Parliament.
The 20th annual Warsaw Feminist March went through the Polish capital today. The main slogan of the march was, "It's us who are the revolution, no more pitying the violent guys." The demonstration took place a few days ahead of the Women's Day in Poland. On the route of the march stood representatives of the Life and Family Foundation, protesting against the pro-abortion slogans of the feminists.
To my jesteśmy rewolucją!
The march began at 2:30 p.m. local time. Its participants marched through the main streets of Warsaw, starting on Plac de Filat, trailing along Marszałkowska Street, Aleje Jerozolimskie, Nowy Świat and Świętokrzyska Street, and looping back to Plac de Filat. The demonstrators wanted to draw attention to the physical, psychological, sexual and economic violence against women. The annual demonstration took place in the context of the International Women's Day, celebrated on March 8th. The date was set to commemorate the strike of 15,000 women at a textile factory in New York on the same day in 1908, where the women demanded electoral rights and improved working conditions after a factory fire that took the lives of 129 women.
Following incidents of physical violence on college campuses carried out against conservative speakers and supporters alike, the U.S. President Donald Trump vows to sign a new executive order during his CPAC speech for college campuses to support free speech or lose federal funding. A conservative student activist at UC Berkeley was filmed on tape being physically assaulted at the recruiting table of Turning Point USA, a conservative organization. The assault follows the multiple physical altercations on college campuses as a result of political discourse and is becoming an increasing concern on college campuses across the country. The recent assault, however, was not the first notable violent attack that took place on a UC Berkeley campus that left students hospitalized. On April of 2017, a college professor allegedly bashed the head of a student conservative activist with a bike lock, leaving him severely injured. UC Berkeley, once the bastion of free speech, has come under attack repeatedly for canceling speeches of notable conservative writers, commentators, and authors under the justifications of anticipated dangers from black-clad agitators known as Antifa, a group classified by the U.S. Homeland Security as domestic terrorist group. In his most recent CPAC speech, the U.S. President Donald Trump vows to sign an executive order in protection of free speech on college campuses, threatening to pull federal funding out of the schools if they fail to comply. Today, the 7th annual In the Tracks of the Wolves run took place. Around 75,000 people spread out over 365 cities in Poland, but also large cities abroad with a notable Polish population, ran almost 2 kilometers in order to honor the members of the Polish anti-communist military underground active between 1944 and 1963.
Na miejsca i druga seria.
Around 75,000 people took part in the 7th annual Tropem Wilczym or in Wolf's Tracks Run, commemorating the heroes of the Polish anti-communism underground, the Cursed Soldiers. This year's competition took place in over 365 cities, including 8 world's biggest metropolises: Vienna, London, Chicago and New York. The 1,963-meter-long long-distance run commemorated the year of death of the last of the Cursed Soldiers, Józef Franczak, codenamed Lalek. The first in Wolf's Tracks Run took place in the forest near Zagrzyński Bay. The previous run was of survival character, with 50 people participating. A year later, the event was moved to Warsaw, where 1,500 people participated, this time in a long-distance run.
That's it for today. I'll see you next time on Poland Daily. But stay tuned for the Poland Daily Weather Report, followed by Poland Daily Business Section.
I'm Aleksandra Zarzycka and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Let's take a look at the forecast for tonight. A cold night across the country with temperatures ranging between 2 degrees in Wrocław and Zielona Góra to -4 degrees in Olsztyn and Białystok. Cloudless sky is expected in central and northern Poland. Now over to tomorrow. Very pleasant weather is expected on Monday. Temperatures grow up to 16 degrees in Zielona Góra, Katowice and Kraków. In central and in the south, we will see a lot of sun. In the north, some rainfall will appear. The pressure will drop. Let's see the forecast for the following 3 days. Some mixed rain and sun is expected across the Poland on Tuesday. A maximum 10 degrees in the south and a minimum 6 degrees around Białystok. On Wednesday, maximum temperature will be 11 degrees in the southeast. Rain is expected in most regions. On Thursday, an overcast weather across the Poland. Temperature will range from 7 to 8 degrees. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Poland Daily Business Edition. We are in Katowice in Electromobility Conference, and Mr. Håkan Agneval of Volvo Buses is our guest. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
It's a fantastic place here in Katowice, and we are talking about future, about electric buses.
Yes.
And do we already know how this electric bus will look in the future? Will this be battery-driven, automatically controlled bus, or this is still being decided?
There will be several solutions for the future, but I would say electric buses using electric batteries will be one of the major ways forward. I think we see a clear global trend for that. What is exciting, there is a lot of things happening in Poland, supported by the government, the regions and the city. We actually think that Poland has an opportunity to position itself as a leader in electromobility for public transport going forward.
Right, because the public transport is like the most economic way of commuting from point A to point B, and your company is doing a lot in the issue, and particularly in Poland. So let's say a few words about the Volvo buses, that Swedish name, but Polish manufacturer.
Yes, I mean, we have our R&D center and manufacturing center for whole of Europe in Wrocław. So it means that we are developing the future electromobility in Wrocław, actually. And we've been in Poland for over 20 years now. So when we talk about the future solution, it's very much developed here in Poland.
Right. We have, let's say, 100% of city buses. What percentage of those are electric buses right now in Europe?
In Europe, I still would say it's around 10%, but it's growing very rapidly.
You can see it by the orders from your customers that they require more and more electric buses?
Yes, I have the privilege to travel in Europe, all over the world. I think for the mayors of the world, there is one really crucial issue today, and that is air quality. So every mayor in every city is trying to improve the air quality because people are dying from poor air quality. And then many cities in the world, they are looking, how do we create a sustainable public transport? And this is where electromobility plays in. And it's a strong discussion in Europe. I know it's a strong discussion in Poland, but it's a global discussion that is ongoing.
Well, if you look at any mobile device, we look at the cost that is being paid over the period of exploitation. So the initial purchase is only part of it. The whole circle is much more important. How the electric bus compares to the old kind of diesel bus?
I mean, the electric bus is in an initial acquisition is more costly, for sure. But then to operate an electric bus over a 10-year period is much less costly. So we talk about the life cycle cost, and that is now getting on par, I would say, with diesel buses.
And there is also lower service costs for electric buses?
In general, there are less service costs. The other thing, however, that you need to consider is the charging infrastructure. And the charging infrastructure is a very important piece of the whole system. That's the difference between an electric bus and a diesel bus. The electric bus is a system, and you need to have a system approach.
The most important part of the electrical car or bus is the battery. Do you source the battery in Europe, or you are for importing batteries from China?
I mean, today there are, I would say, 3-4, a handful of major battery providers, and most of them are in Asia, so we source there. But there are a lot of initiatives in Europe to establish battery manufacturing going forward. So we will see what the future will bring.
Okay, is Poland also place considered to be a source of electric batteries?
Well, we will see where these big players, they put up their battery factories. That will decide where we will source.
Because this is the key issue. Mr. Håkan Agneval of Volvo Buses here in Poland was our guest, sir.
Thank you very much.
And that was it for Poland Daily Business tonight.
I'm Aleksandra Zarzycka and welcome back to Poland Daily Weather. Let's take a look at the forecast for tomorrow. Very pleasant weather is expected on Monday. Temperature grow up to 16 degrees in Zielona Góra, Katowice and Kraków. In central and in the south we will see a lot of sun. In the north some rainfall will appear. The pressure will drop. And now let's see tomorrow's forecast for our continent. In the Balkans, temperature will range from 11 in Sofia to 18 in Athens. Still warm on the South Europe. Their temperature will range between 19 in Lisbon and 21 degrees in Madrid. In British Islands, we will expect a little rainfall and sunlight. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
The queue, as described before, was an inseparable attribute of everyday life during the communist period. The economic crisis and the shortage of supplies meant that where the needed goods appeared, there was a queue of people willing to buy. The most significant and memorable ones were for the purchase of meat. Those queues started often hours before the delivery of the desired goods. This fact may have led to a lot of conflicts. In crowded stores and after long hours of waiting, tired and irritated people were getting into discussions, sometimes even fighting. In the most extreme cases, the police intervened.
In today's episode, I will be talking again to Artur Górniewski, and we will be discussing the communist times again. So Artur, why is it that Poles often so fondly remember the communist times?
So, Paulina, whatever happens in 30 years old time from now, you will be saying that these were the days, right now, at the moment. when we are in our 20s, when we are in our 30s, whatever happens, we remember these days because we were strong, we were powerful, and we could run across the streets and forests and everything, and we had so much power. So when Polish people nowadays, let's say in their 70s or 80s, are talking about the communist times with some kind of resentment, then we must remember that these people themselves were young over then, and I think that I'll be exactly the same. If in the future some amazingly perfect technology will be invented and people using it will say that how the life could look like before without that technology, and I will be saying, okay, but these were the days. These were the days, these are the current days of Poland when we are recovering, when we are going back on the track once again that we were before. I know that people right after World War I were appreciating these times until World War II happened. So let us now at the moment appreciate these times that we are living through at the moment. And I am also hoping that every single Polish man who was growing up in communist times was appreciating these times for themselves. Because why not?
Some people even say it was better than it is now.
Well, there is another part of the story. In the capitalist world, we have worries that people didn't have in communist times. So in communist times, you didn't have to worry if you will have a job or not. So I think that this is one of the biggest worries of nowadays people and their efficiency and the future of their family. In a nowadays capitalist world, the more children you have, the bigger costs your family has, but over then, the more children you had, the bigger flat you could be given.
Yes.
So,
but people were worried, for example, about food. Is that true? Because if someone would go to a store and want to buy as many things as we are able to buy now, they couldn't, because there was nothing in the stores and there were queues and lines for hours.
As they were saying, on the shelves in a regular stores, the only available thing were matches and vinegar. So totally different than in a nowadays grocery that you enter and you cannot even walk in between these shelves because there are so many products over there. So yes, people were waiting in lines. If they were given in information that there was some supply of products and the products will be available in some shop, so that people were standing in line just like you can see in here behind me, and that was a very big thing in Polish history, to wait in line. Yes. You could hire someone so to stand in line for you. That's first. And second, how this thing is affecting our lives. Please take a notice. It is because when I take a look at some place and people are crowding over there or waiting in line, then you know what, Paulina, I instantly go there.
Yes.
Because somehow it's attractive for me, because it's in my blood that my forefathers were waiting in line for ages altogether. So when they were waiting in line, then there was a reason, because you had your possibility to buy some meat, you had enough of Polish currency in your cash, but there was no product in a shop. So if people were standing in line, that it means one thing only, there was something available in that shop. So this is how it affects me. Don't know about you, but when it comes to Warsaw, Poland, when there are some places that are becoming more and more popular, these are crowded places. So when they are getting more crowded, it's like a snowball effect in Poland, because this is how it becomes more attractive for people, just because they are crowded. And this is how this era affects our current life.
But were people standing in lines for hours, or was it days? Or if I would want to buy a piece of meat, how long do you think I would be waiting?
Oh, I think that 10 hours was a normal thing, so you were asking members of your family to stand in line for you, and then you were coming
So people were
to change
taking
them.
turns.
Of course.
It's interesting. Some people may not know that, especially people from abroad, but it's a very interesting fact, because people had just little pieces of paper with some things to buy written on them, right? How
you were
did that
given
work?
a piece of paper by your employee, so you were given a possibility to buy a month kilos of meat, for instance, and then you were getting it for this piece of paper and cash as well. You had to pay for it, but still the problem was they were not available in the shops and groceries. So look, these are totally different problems that people were having over then and nowadays. So imagine such a piece of proper Polish sausage was a very good currency if you wanted to take care of your stuff, of your things. And we can see it in a few of Polish movies.
And changing the subject a little bit, who were the iconic people, who were the icons of the communist times?
Well, that's a big story, and I cannot start this conversation. I cannot start answering this question without mentioning John Paul II, Karol Wojtyła. Even Ronald Reagan eventually said that the Pope is the key to kill communism. And this is how it was. We are having 1978, a moment when Polish man, a young guy, Karol Wojtyła, was elected during conclave that he will be the Pope. Now that's amazing thing. That's an amazing story. People are shocked and overwhelmed all over planet Earth. John Paul II turns out to be not only a great pope, but a great philosopher too. And then he comes to Poland to pray in 1979. And there are 1 million of people who gather in their area of Piłsudski Square just to see that Paul, and they are not asking for privileges over then. They are not asking for money. They are not asking for more meat in the grocery stores, but they are asking for the Holy Spirit to come in here finally and stay. And this is a quotation of John Paul II. We want God. Finally, we want to have our independence, real independence back. John Paul II, amazing figure in our history. Soon, solidarity labor unions were approved by communist government in 1980. And this is a moment when communist government gave to Polish people, as we say, we have such expression in Polish, they gave us a finger, so we wanted the entire hand. And this is why communist government decided to stop it. Martial law started, not going out after it got dark for a year. Shortage in availability of vodka in the stores. Now you couldn't get yourself as much vodka as you wanted, but your accessibility to vodka was limited. So you were having like 1 bottle of vodka per month. And there was this very famous interview when a lady was asking Polish people, so what do you think about it? What do you think about the idea that our access to vodka is limited at the moment? So they were supposed to answer somehow, but not to offend communist government. So they were answering, well, the idea didn't work out, it didn't pass the test, but there was another situation. In a store, there is a line, a journalist, a lady with her microphone, asks a gentleman, so sir, what do you think about it? He's grumpy, he doesn't want to answer, but still, sir, please answer me the question. What do you think about this limited vodka idea to you? Still, he wouldn't answer the question. So finally, she asks, sir, so for how long this bottle of vodka will survive in your hands? And then he replies, ma'am, I will not make it home. Which means that he would just drink it on the way home. So we were producing vodka in our basements. That's a very big thing. Bimber, vodka distillation process. It was also in my family. My grandfather was producing vodka in his bathroom in a flat on 7th floor. There was some problem with electricity, so that policemen were knocked the door to his house. Now he was only in his underwear when police knocked the door. So he asked his wife, my grandmother, Maria, come here quickly and dress down on the way. So she did. She was only in her underwear. Then he hugged her and opened the door to the policeman. Then they looked at the situation. These guys are naked, smell of alcohol. Okay, we are sorry.
Really?
Yes.
And did people produce vodka only for themselves or for secret selling it?
Well, ask Polish man what he will do with his vodka. Well, of course, he will drink it, he will sell it, he will share it with his friends. Vodka has always been a very important factor in our culture, philosophy and way of living. So another thing, after this martial law, the moment when we couldn't go out from our flats after it got dark, imagine your friends came over to your flat. You are drinking homemade vodka, and then it becomes dark. So if you said to your friends, goodbye, go back home at the moment, then it would be possible that they would get imprisoned and have very big problems. So they were staying at your place for the night. Of course, drinking vodka together, why not? Do you know that a year after, in 1982, we had a very big baby boom in Poland?
Yes.
So that's a little bit of our history.
And that's because people stayed at home and drank a lot of vodka.
Well, I mean, that's just a sequence of facts that occurred in this moment. And of course, on the other day, now we are thinking, hey, wait a second, on the other day they had to go to work. But still, it doesn't matter. If you are standing or laying, you are supposed to be given your thousands. So your efficiency wasn't that much important over then. What was more important is the fact that you appeared. And that's why, surely, they did not have the problems that we are having nowadays. And circumstances of life were totally different.
So ending with this funny accent, I'll say thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Poland Daily History. Today we dive deep into the history of the Polish nobility. The Polish nobility makes a very interesting case as they were more numerous and enjoy more political power than their European counterparts. They even managed to start a political system based on elective monarchy. Today, we will talk to our special guest, Jan Dąbrowski, a philosopher and a member of the Polish nobility. Today we will talk to Mr. Dąbrowski about his family heritage, how the family came to be a noble, and what are the coat of arms or anything special that you can tell us.
Mm-hmm. Well, our family dates back, proven in the heraldic office and papers are in St. Petersburg. Back to the 15th century, 14 something, yes.
Sure.
That was proven. The coat of arms has got apparently English origin because very few Polish coat of arms has got either animal or human beings on representing their coat of arms, you know. And Rawicz or Rawa, called Rawa, has got a young woman. Young princess, because she's wearing crown, sitting or riding a bear. A black bear. Yeah, yeah. It is in the move, you know. So she's sitting in a nice pose, and we don't have in our heraldry other coat of arms similar to Rawa. It is due, as I've read, you know, and as I discussed with other members of family or other noble families wearing the same coat of arms. It is due to the fact that the region that family, that clan settled was not far from Rawa Mazowiecka. It's in the middle of Poland, south of Warsaw, southwest of Warsaw, and apparently that coat of arms and that name was brought to Poland with Czechs emigre, because there were fights in 11th century. There were fights for throne in Prague, and losing party had to leave the country, and they chosen Poland, the middle of the Poland, to settle, you know. And there is another interesting explanation that could be also an English coat of arm originally from early medieval ages, because there is or exists apparently a family, or there used to be an English family having the same or similar, very similar coat of arms. But I don't know the details nor names, but it is interesting because it's not a typical Polish coat of arms, you know.
As is usually the case with noble families, Mr. Dąbrowski had ancestors who left a significant mark on Polish history. Next up, we will ask Mr. Dąbrowski about their biographies. Geographically, where is the family located, and do they interact with other nobilities or intermarriages, any stuff like that?
Yes, of course. It was functioning like you described it in your question, that there were intermarriages, and the family was the family estate was south of Lublin, 30 kilometers more or less south of Lublin, which was a crown king's town in the historical Poland, and with a very good soil, you know, very fruitful, very rich soil, you know, and this is how they could make their life, you know, and they were being well off over history. That estate and manor, the family of my grandmother, because it belonged to my grandmother, my Tadeusz Dąbrowski's wife. She was born Zembrzuska, also from a nobleman's family, and my grandfather had his estate not away from her. So one can say they were from the same land, one can say like that, yes. But in that family you had influx of other blood as well. Like in the beginning of 19th century, we had Austrian baroness who married my ancestor, you know. Of course, Poland officially did not exist, but that shows that there were mixture even between nation, you know. Because Europe was at that time in 19th century from Brest to Brest and from Galicia to Galicia, you know. Galicia was in southern Poland, yes, not far from Krakow. So that Spanish Galicia and that Polish and French Brest and Polish Brest, which is on the bank of the river Bug.
Let's go into the specifics of your family. Are there any notable people or any big names that are interesting, or any stories that you would like to present us?
Well, I would like to mention my grandfather, or even another Ludwig Louis Dąbrowski, who was who had the position at the end of Commonwealth. we were talking about recently. He was the supreme judge, you know, at the time of last king Stanislaus Augustus, you know. So and my aunt possessed letters written between themselves and proving that they were in a close relation, because king turns to him, and the letters preserved are letters written by king and signed by King Stanislaus Augustus, and it shows close relation. I mean, that they were in amitié, they were in very close relation, because it's not a formal official letter, but concerning some political movements, some decisions. And he resided in Piotrków Trybunalski. It's southwest of Poland, of Warsaw, some 120 kilometers away from where we are now. And that was the location where Trybunał Koronny, the Crown Tribunal, was placed.
So that's the family member in the judicial branch of the power, and I was wondering if you know anyone that's also in the legislative branch.
Yes. In Ślaski family, my mother's family, we had even 4 generations of members of parliaments. The 3 were in Prussian Empire and Kingdom of Prussia, so they were MPs and members of Herrenhaus. That was a Senate, German Senate, like House of Lords, equivalent of House of Lords at the end of the second part of 19th century. That was Ślaski, my grandfather from my and mother. My mother's father Jan. I inherited name after him. He was MP, and then youngest or one of the youngest senator. Army voted for him because he was an officer, extremely brave officer. He was in cavalry, and he was fighting with Bolsheviks in 1920-21.
What about the sphere of culture? Is there any influential figures?
Yes. Well, I have to mention one person which is one of the greatest figures in the Polish history. It's a poet and politician, Jan Kochanowski. We, which means my sister, my cousins Anna and Michał, and my sister Małgorzata, Margaret, we are descendants of his older brother Kacper. But he had in the Renaissance era in 16th century a role because he was secretary of the king, and he was politician and really great poet. He studied in Italy, northern Italy, in Padova, in one of the eldest university in Europe.
Right.
And he became poet in Latin language, and he was well known in 16th century all over Europe as a poet of European as a poet of Latin language, and then he became first big poet because he was writing poetry which is up to now understandable, and any Pole can read what he was writing in his old Polish, and it is to be swallowed and understood, and it is full of deep thoughts and of political comments. You know, he wrote a drama, and so I would say it was the largest figure in the family, and we are all, as I mentioned, my cousins in the family tree of Korwin-Kochanowski family.
As we learned today, the Polish aristocracy played an important role in Polish history, and also they formed the backbone of Polish cultural life. That's it for today. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. I'll see you next time on Poland Daily History.
Hello and welcome back to Poland Daily Travel. We're glad you tuned in. Or we're glad you're watching us on YouTube. Lots of stuff to see. Your best source for travel information about Poland. We'll be venturing forth soon to exciting sites around Poland and nearby. But today we're in Warsaw and we're focusing on the Warsaw Old Town. We start at St. Anna's Church and talk about its significance and how Poland saved Europe twice. That's right, count it, twice. We'll be looking at some of the secrets of the Old Town, some of the stories and vignettes, and just two guys going for a walk on a sunny day. So stay with us on Poland Daily Travel. We're really glad you tuned in, because why do we do this? We do it for you. Stay with us. Okay, we're here. We're going to go into St. Anna's Church. It's a beautiful day, a nice Friday in Warsaw. Touch of spring is in the air. We're going to go inside because this is another important landmark. You know, the churches are not only beautiful buildings in Poland, but a very important part of the history and the culture. Well over 50% of Poles go to church every Sunday. So it really matters here. But at any rate, it's a beautiful building and a famous building. Many famous funerals, many famous weddings, many just ordinary, of both the same.
That's where that's where I go every Sunday.
Oh, this, I didn't, Arthur, you didn't tell me. This is actually your church?
9 p.m. Mass. All the Warsawians and even Polish people know about St. Anna's Church, 9 p.m. Mass. It's an amazing choir, it's an amazing priests, and it's an amazing society that gathers in here. So yes, let's do it. I will tell you about it.
Oh gosh, why didn't you invite me? Yeah.
Come on, you are.
You invite me the next time? Okay. I'm gonna come to Mass here. Why not? This Sunday, okay?
And after the Mass, we'll have a coffee in Cafe Anna. So like this society, we have a coffee or a tea or a cake after the Mass.
Okay.
And this is how we get to know each other in here.
It sounds fantastic. It sounds fun. Actually, you did tell me that you had your grandparents' anniversary?
51st anniversary, 10 o'clock last Sunday it was. And yes, it took place.
In the morning. Yeah.
Yes.
And how do they do that? They just remember your grandparents?
There was a regular Mass, and during the Mass, the priest said, wow, 51st anniversary of a marriage of these guys in here. Congratulations. Now we pray for you.
That is incredible, isn't it? Yeah, wow. That's a long time. That's a good contract. Okay, we're going inside. Come on.
Let's do it. And we will not enter these doors, probably. Yeah. And these are fine.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Poland Daily Travel. This time we've returned to the origin of the royal route and we'll be looking at a very important church in the history of Poland, St. Anna's Church, here at the edge of the Old Town where it meets Krakowskie Przedmieście. So really right in the heart of Warsaw and in the heart of Poland in that sense. We're going to talk with my friend Artur Górniewski more about the history right now. Arthur, what is the significance of St. Anna's Church?
On every single step. The location, the history of this church is very important for us. Starting from 15th century, when first friars, Franciscans, were invited to Warsaw by Anna Fyodorovna, the church develops. It has perfect location right next to the royal castle, right next to the city itself. And then we construct much bigger building in here, once again financed by Anna, but Radziwiłłówna this time. And then
the Radziwiłł family.
And the Radziwiłł family is involved in construction of this church. And then Anna Jagiellonka finances very important elements of this church, and this is when officially it becomes Saint Anna's Church. Look, 3 times in our history there was an Anna who financed particular elements of this church, so that's why this church has a name of the mother of Maria, so
the mother of the Virgin Mary.
Exactly.
Right.
So Jesus Christ's grandmother.
There we are.
And
so this is the Church of Christ's grandmother.
Correct.
There we are. Okay, and it has a lot of significance in partly because of the elements of architecture inside and ornamentation, but also because of the military history. What about the ornamentation?
When it comes to ornamentation, we can see it at the moment, and we'll see it later, that it's just amazing. It's so rich, it's so goldish. It's about movement, it's about this amazing Rococo style that whenever you see these robes of the saints and angels behind us, and when you see that these robes are strongly affected by the wind, when you see movement over there on their faces, on their feet, on their hands, you can say it's Rococo style. You can see it's goldish, and you can see that these columns are not in one line, like Barocco style, but they are kinked, they are curved.
Curved.
And they are like in 3D situation, and this is what makes it Rococo style, which is immanent.
Like 3D style. You see.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there's a lot more movement in it. So let's take a look at some of those details. Poland Daily Travel. We'll be right back. Stay with us.